All right, welcome back for another episode of Hidden Gems. This is the video series where I talk about those books tucked away in those back issue bins that you might still be able to liberate for a decent price. Some of these books are undervalued, some are forgotten about. These are things that you might just be able to find for cheaper than they might be selling for right now. Hopefully, you're enjoying this series as well as everything else on the channel. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And yeah, if you want to see what books I have on tap for you this week, just hang on for a few seconds and I will be right back after the intro. Okay, so as we've been rolling with the series the last few weeks, I have my categories all set for this week, and we start, as usual, with my little bit of a quick artist retrospective. I like starting off with the artists because there's so many I love to cover. I'd love to get back to the full-on series of the artist retrospective, but it takes a lot of work. It does take a lot of work, so I haven't been able to dedicate that kind of time. But I do like these little quick hits, just to give you a bit of a sense of some of these artists that I'm a fan of. And this week, we're going to look ahead to a book that's already getting hot before its release. And that is this Killing Time, this Batman Killing Time 1 in 25 variant by Ben Oliver. Gorgeous cover. I love Ben Oliver's style. He's a UK artist. Gorgeous, gorgeous work. I love a lot of his stuff. He's done a good bit of DC covers, including a bunch of like Catwoman, just regular like B covers here and there. But awesome stuff, and he's bounced around. He's done work all the different companies. Other examples of some of the things he's done recently, earlier in the Killing Time, I think it was issue 2, you had this Riddler cover, which is pretty cool. This is also a 1 in 25. And if you've been following my buddy Chris Nelms, who has been helping out on the Kickstarter for that Guma book, Ben Oliver also has one of the variants there that you can get as well. And this thing is gorgeous. This one took a little while for them to release what the cover art was going to look like, and I think it was worth the wait. This thing's fantastic. I'm glad I put my money into the Kickstarter, so I'll be getting all of the covers because I like them. I like them. I mean, feel free to check it out if you want to see what books they have to offer. But I like the series. It's pretty decent so far from what I've been able to read, and I'm looking forward to getting these in hand because I think these are going to be some nice looking books. That said, where did Ben Oliver get his start? Well, being that he's from the UK, he got his start with 2000 AD. Interiors on this book, not the cover that we have shown here, but this issue of 2000 AD, which I think is from September of 2000. Seems about right. He has a story inside this book where he did some of the interior art. It was a Judge Dredd story. You're a better man than I am, Gunga Disdale, for something like that. Anyway, that's the interior work that he did. He'd worked on a bunch of 2080 titles over the years, like bouncing out here and there. I believe this was his first cover a few years later, that in the center there. And there's a couple of other cover examples he's done, again, over the years for 2000 AD. Again, like his style, always has an interesting take on these covers. And if we want to look at this one in the center, just as kind of a quick example, is one of his early cover works. This one again was I think this was a couple of years. This might have been 2004, could have been 2002. But anyway, this issue you can see one sold in a lot. You can sometimes find lots of 2000 AD books on eBay because they're UK, almost like magazine sized comics, if you will. And you can see there was a lot that sold 19 issues, including this one, for only 18 bucks. Granted, still $37 shipping, but not a decent price nonetheless. Available copies for the individual, covers that he has done. You can see they're only a few bucks, $4 here, $3 there. Granted, you got to pay the UK shipping because that's where they are. They're from the UK, so just keep that in mind if you are interested in collecting any of this stuff. That said, what else has Ben Oliver worked on? He first, I believe, worked on this cover of The Authority. It's like a graphic novel, and I think the interior as well. This like original graphic novel for The Authority back in 2004 as his first DC work. And as this being a trade paperback or graphic novel, its price is going to be pretty much MSRP, which is like $10, I think. But you can see there's still cheaper ones that sell online for more than that $5 kind of range. But you got to pay shipping. And there's going to be later printings of it because again, this is on like a a trade paperback. So you're going to be able to still get this. You can probably hit up Amazon even for this. But if you don't want to go do that, hit a Barnes & Noble or a bookstore like that, you can still see copies can be pretty cheap, even online, for as low as $2 or up to $14, depending on what you feel like paying if you're interested in this graphic novel of The Authority. He also did some Marvel work as well over the years. In 2006, he had this nice little run with Kirkman. I don't know why the Robert Kirkman run on Ultimate X-Men doesn't get more talking, or nobody's looking at it, like nobody cares. I get it. It's Ultimate Universe is kind of dead, but still, you had Kirkman, you had Ben Oliver. This was a solid run. This is issue 69. This cover here, he did interiors as well. But some of these other covers that I like, the Cable issues 76, 77, were kind of standouts for me as well. But these things, they're not that expensive. You can see how cheap they can be. $3.79, $25 will get you a whole trade of these stories. Not expensive at all for these Ultimate X-Men books. You can see there a lot of those Cable sets. 75, I think, through 79, only $4.79 plus shipping. Granted, individual issues could be as much as $7 or even $11, but there's plenty of lots out there where you can get runs of some of these titles for very cheap. If not, this is also kind of dollar bin fodder, to be fair. So Ultimate X-Men books, like I said, there's not a lot of demand for them. So this is the second volume of Ultimate X-Men as well, like the later I'll say second volume, the later of the run of Ultimate X-Men. So keep an eye out for those as well. Not the second volume, my bad. Another series that he did is a 5-issue series starring Norman Osborn, which is kind of cool. And you can see these pretty awesome covers here. I like the textured kind of like look to the cover art there. This is issue 1 of Evil Incarcerated Osborn. You got the whole Goblin logo there in the center. I like it. I dig it. This is during the big time run of Spider-Man. Again, 5-issue series, 2011. You can see issue 2 there, issue 5-issue series. There's issue 5 there on the right, just to give you some examples of some of these covers of what you might be looking for. Looking at prices, issue 1 could go for as much as like $20. Look, there's $6, and you can get the whole 1 through 5 for as cheap as $10. Pricing is pretty inconsistent on these things. I don't know who Toxie Doxie really is, but if you're interested, there's apparently a first appearance of Toxie Doxie in the first issue, so keep that in mind as well. Asking prices at least, currently are in the $20 for issue 1, and then you can get some of the other issues just cheap as $2.75 or so. So definitely not a pricey book or a pricey investment. Another thing you might be able to dig out dollar bins if you go hunting and go looking. That said, let's get into a couple of his variants. And there are a couple of variants I do like. Granted, I don't like doing a lot of high incentive ratios in this show. I usually like holding those more for chasing ghosts, but we can't really call like this next book a ghost, but it is a pretty gorgeous cover. This is a 1 in 25 for Batman Superman number 13. You got Superman, you got Batman, Catwoman. I just love how this all just kind of bleeds and blends together. I really like this cover, and it is very affordable, even though it's 1 in 25. I mean, look, a copy sold May 13th for $1.10. That's $1.10 for a 1 in 25 incentive variant with one bid. Telling you, don't auction books that are not hot, because this is going to happen to you. One bid for $1.10. But even the asking prices in this are not expensive. Look, $15 to $20, all under ratio. Basically, the asks on this one. So it is a pretty cool cover. I like it. Just one that I'm happy I have it. I have it here somewhere. More DC stuff that he's worked on are the first couple issues of Lost Army, the Green Lantern. This is in 2015. There were 2025 variants for this run, and these things actually connect. These first 3 issues that he managed to do the 1 in 25 incentive cover. So keep an eye out for these as well. I know that second one in the middle there, or the one in the middle for issue 2, is a gorgeous cover. I'm glad I have one of those as well. I think I might have issue 3, because that one's not bad either, and that one could be popping up a little bit more. And then you got John Stewart on issue 1 as well. Don't forget John Stewart. That said, what do these things go for? Well, pricing could be a little all over the place. Cheap as $15 on the issue 3 for a 1 in 25, $35 for just this issue 2, which I think is the most popular of the 3. And then somebody got a best offer accepted on $90 on all 3 together. I didn't go digging into the prices this week because I didn't have a lot of time. So it's under $90 for the 3 of them. So you can assume it's probably right around ratio for these. But then if you look at the asking prices for some of these, yes, John Stewart could be $16. You could be paying up to $63 for that issue 2, and somebody wants $275 for that issue 3. So prices are what they are. So see where you can find them. Maybe you can find them at your shop as these kind of ignored, overlooked variants from DC. Because again, this is like 2011. There's not a lot of demand for the Lost Army of Green Lantern. Not to say that these are plentiful, but they're also not impossible to find because this was a decently printed story and the incentives should be out there. And if you go looking, maybe you can find them for a decent price. So keep that in mind. And that's just a little, a little dip into the pond to check out some Ben Oliver covers that I enjoyed and I like. So hopefully you liked his art as well and go start looking for more of his stuff coming up because I think he's a pretty solid cover artist, if not interior artist, but he's really only doing covers a lot lately. So just enjoy them for what they are. That said, let's move on to our next category. And our next category is going to be variants because, well, I still kind of want to talk a little bit about Ben Oliver. So we're going to do some Ben Oliver talk, but we're going to do it under the guise of variants. As I noted before, I don't like doing high incentive ratio variants for this show, for this series, for Hidden Gems. I usually like doing more 1 in 10s, 1 in 15s, 1 in 5s, just those lower ratios that you might be able to just find because they could be just tucked in a regular box. Like the people might not even know that they're incentive variants just based off of the cover art alone because, a lot of these things just get overlooked. And one of these 1 in 10s I like looking at here is this Shadows of the Vampire Dungeons and Dragons book for issue 3. This is a real retailer incentive. It's a 1 in 10. Pretty cool. I mean, you got the vampire whole look. You got the filigree on the chair. Pretty solid. But none is sold. And when I looked to see what was out there, it's also not available. So I should have considered this for Chasing Ghosts, but it's only 1 in 10. So I figured, you know what? I didn't want to force it in there, but we'll look at it here real fast. So who all knows how much this one might sell for? Because again, none sold, none available. So don't know on this particular 1 in 10. Issue 4 is another one that I like that he also did the 1 in 10 retailer incentive on. That looks a lot like to me. It looks a little bit like a cross between Lost Boys and the Angel type of Buffy the Vampire Angel type vampire look. But once again, none sold recently and none available. So I probably could have done it in Chasing Ghosts, but here we are. But keep an eye out for it, because who knows, if you find this in a shop, maybe you can grab it for cheap, because I think they're pretty cool covers, and as you can see, they're not plentiful. There's not a bunch out there, so maybe you might find yourself a nice little treasure. Up next, we're going to look at another 1 in 15. This from Marvel, though. This is a pretty cool, this is actually Dakin. This is Dark Wolverine, issue 86. 1 in 15 cover. I like these Heroic Age covers. You see them occasionally. I believe they're all the 1 in 15 variants. And I don't know, just some sort of like portrait. Kind of gives you like a trading card kind of vibe. But this is another one. Maybe you can find this in a shop because it's not a high incentive ratio. This is one that a lot of shops probably qualified and were able to get. And who knows? Could just be tucked away in a back issue box somewhere because nobody's buying Dark Wolverine books. Nobody cares about Dakin, however you say his name. But none sold recently, so I can't tell you what the market has been on this. But if you want to go and buy one, the current available copies are as cheap as $4 or as high as 15. So it's ratio and less, as cheap as what is cover price these days. Granted, at the time, cover price was $2.99, but these days cover prices, $4 or $5. So $4 isn't too bad for a 1 in 15. And like I said, it's a pretty solid cover, if you ask me. I like it. Now, going on to a category I don't know if I've done here on this series yet, but I made the title card for it. So we're going to touch a little bit of a first appearance. So let's go look at a first appearances. I'm only going to do one, though, for this week and just talk about something. It's not quite a forgotten first. Could be a little pricey, but maybe you can find it underpriced at a shop. And we are going to be looking at Bloodstone. Not Elsa Bloodstone, but her father, Ulysses Bloodstone. Granted, this character has kind of been around for a while. So if you want to get into his first appearance, well, you're going to have to kind of go back to Strange Tales 73. Granted, the character was just called Frank. So I suppose it's the same, and he just gets kind of renamed later in the 70s. But initially in this little kind of an early Ant-Man type story, Frank is our prototype for Bloodstone, basically. And so there's Frank, a little snippet from inside this book. Now this is a book that's pretty old. It's still not bad. I mean, $47 is not terrible for a book this old, really, if you ask me. But granted, it's not the nicest copy in the world, but hey, nothing wrong with a well-loved, edition. And if you want to see what's out there, like available, you can see there's one at auction. I found. I still had a couple of days left. It's actually going to be ending Tuesday evening, so tomorrow. And that was already 45 bucks. So still in that kind of same range. Not too terrible, really. So that's very good. Very good. Plus is how they're selling it. Not too bad. Give it a look see. But if you want his first as Bloodstone, well, then we can look at this issue here. This Marvel Presents Bloodstone #1. So the first issue Marvel Presents is featuring the character of Bloodstone. I think he's on the first two issues. They kind of spotlight him as a character. So this is more the look that we've come to know of him, with the little stone on the chest, the long flowing blonde locks, and he's fighting the monsters. And again, this is Elsa's father. So I actually do have this book, and I actually have one of those Filipino editions, one of those foreign books, which I just happened to find at a flea market for $1 and was happy to grab it. I wanted to pull it out to show you guys on the show here, but I couldn't find it. It's around here somewhere. But this is still a pretty cool book, and one you can probably find out there for pretty cheap, because, again, no, there's not a lot of love for the original Bloodstone. A little bit, to be fair. I mean, copies are selling for $30 to $50 if you look at some of these recent sales. But with the way the market's going with a lot of these other first appearances, I mean, look how much Tosin it costs, like Black Panther 3 from the current series. How much people paying for that book, and that character's done nothing. But that all said, available copies, 25 to, again, that $50 kind of range is what people are asking for. But maybe you find this tucked away at an LCS where they just haven't priced this book in a while. Maybe it's not a 9.8 contender, but it's a pretty solid copy, and they get it marked in a back issue box for like $5 or $10. This is the kind of thing that you can go and dig out and maybe make yourself happy. You're like, it's a pretty cool book that you get for a pretty solid price. So it's kind of fun little thing I like to look for. Not to say you're going to find it, and you're not to say how your store is going to price. I don't know how your store is priced. That's why I'm giving you the market, so you can make the call if you find these in a shop, whether the price is good or not, based on asking prices and what it's been selling for recently. So you make that call for yourself, as I would when I go out hunting. You might go to a shop where this is marked like $40. And no, not saying anybody should pay $40 for this right now. But if you find it for cheap, maybe you consider it. Now, let's go check out later prints. I like covering later printings. I know I had a whole video series covering just those. I think I like mixing it up here and kind of doing everything under hidden gems, as opposed to focusing too much on one kind of topic. So we're going to go with later printings here for this segment now. And we're going to be looking at Swordmaster. First appearance of Swordmaster in War of the Realms, New Agents of Atlas #2. And this is a second print of that cover. Granted, we do not see him here on the cover. You got the other characters there, Arrow and I forget all their names, but the other New Agents of Atlas. And this is not a cheap one, so not going to be an easy one to find. But just be aware of the cover, know what it looks like, in case you luck into one when you're flipping to a back issue box, maybe even like a recent overstock box, because sometimes those later printings just get thrown in with all of the other leftovers. So keep an eye out for it. $30 to like $50 is really what this thing is kind of selling for right now. And if you want to see what's available, the asking prices are starting at $50 and going more to like that $85 range, which is pretty steep. It is, again, first appearance of Swordmaster, but it's a second print. I don't generally consider the later printings the first appearance, because they're later printings. This is not the first printing. So these came later than the first. So this is a subsequent printing, but still an interesting book and an interesting cover to go and collect. So just keep that in mind. That said, let's just stick with Swordmaster for another book. We're going to go to his solo series, and his solo series #1 also had a pretty solid second print cover. I kind of like this. Something cool about it to me. And I don't remember seeing this one on the shelf, so I missed this when this came out. But this one also is pretty pricey, with raw copies asking $50 to $150. That said, there's a 9.8 also asking $180. Not asking; these are sold prices. Sold for $180, sold for $55, sold for $150 raw. Granted, these are spanning the last couple of months. Just some example sales. Asking prices now. This is where I was misspeaking. Current asking prices are $50 to $80 raw, and a $400 ask on a 9.8 right now. So not cheap at all. So keep that in mind in case, again, you come across this at a shop. Maybe they haven't. Maybe they have it like, oh, it's a Swordmaster. People like Swordmaster. And they're not aware that it's a second print. They just think it's the #1. Maybe it's marked like $10. No, $10 might be a good buy considering the prices here. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Just see how these things are priced when you go out there hunting and go out there digging. Who knows? But just another book to just be aware of and keep, in your mental Rolodex. So when you come across it, you know what you're looking at. Now, let's get into some oddities. These are the little oddball things. I generally like mixing these things in over the years into dollar bin digging, just those little oddball things. Because sometimes when you're out there hunting, you hit a flea market, things like that, these dollar boxes, you get oddball stuff. You get those mini comics, you get those freebies, you get those Taco Bell, Pizza Hut issues, you get those things polybagged and unpolybagged with the trading cards missing. You find a bunch of weird stuff out there. And one of the things I used to find out there, and it's been a little while since I've come across them, but you can still sometimes find them. I pointed out a few times in Dollar Bin Digging, and these things can sell very well. And what I'm talking about are Jademan comics. These are those kung fu books from back in like the 80s. Pretty cool. Pretty cool series. If you've ever checked these out and you like kung fu, go check these things out. But these last issues, the final issues of these runs, can all do pretty well. This is Blood Sword Dynasty. Another pretty cool storyline, which you might guess it's about a Blood Sword dynasty. But this is the final issue, issue 41. And you can see this thing sells all right with $22. And yes, you might be able to sneak one for $2.40. Somebody did on June 3rd there, $2.40. Now you're going to, and granted, it's only a very good copy. And you're going to say, who cares? Why are you telling me about this book that's $2.40, this weird kung fu book from the 80s? Well, the reason why I'm telling you this is because sometimes these things can sell for much more than that. It's all in the timing and it's all in finding who's looking for these books, because you can see the other available copies for this same book are $35 to $100. Yes, these things can sell for quite a bit. I've sold a couple of these for quite a bit. You just leave them out there. You just leave them out there in the hook. People make offers and you accept whatever you want to accept. That's how I look at it. But these things are hard to really come across. And when you do stumble into them, sometimes you got yourself a nice little gem. So that's why I'm bringing it up. Keep an eye out for these, because these things, there are fans. I like these books. There are other fans outside of me who are looking for these books. Another series to keep an eye on from Jademan is The Force of Buddha's Palm. This is sideways, this title, as you can see. Turn your head. This is issue 55. Again, the final issue of this run. No copies have sold recently, so nobody's purchased one in the last 3 months. But, as I mentioned before, the asking prices, $50, $60, $150 on these. Now, will they ever get these prices? I don't know. Possibly. Maybe, maybe not. Again, I've gotten some decent returns on some of these books where I've gotten $50 to $100 on individual Jademan issues. It can happen, and it does happen, because all you got to do is be available when the person who's looking for it is looking and willing to pay. So, moving on. This is the one I look for most because I think this is the one that does pretty well, and this is Oriental Heroes. This also ran 55 issues, but this series, unlike the others, has a little bit more opportunities there in the end. See, this is issue 52. This is not even the final issue. This is just late in the run. And again, while there have no copies been sold recently, I have found and sold this book, I think, for like $30 before, personally. And current asking prices are about $50 for this one in particular. So one other one to just be aware of. So when you're flipping through a box, you find these weird things, go and grab them. Now, the one that I always look for, because I have found this a couple of times and I've sold it a couple of times, and yes, I have sold this for $100 before. This is Oriental Heroes issue 55. This is the final issue of this run. None have sold recently, but the asking price right now, I think there's only one out there. There's one listed for $70. This is another one, like I said, I've personally sold this for $100 before. I've seen it listed for 100, 150, and less, $50. These things could sell for all kinds of wide ranges. You saw one sold for $2. It's all when opportunity meets, the shopper out there, whoever's looking for it. So just keep these in mind. Sticking with some more of these oddball stuff. Free Comic Book Day. I know a lot of people were grabbing this. One Punch Man, My Hero Academia, first appearance in this issue, 2016 Free Comic Book Day from Viz Media. A lot of people are grabbing this because it's a first appearance and it sells pretty well. Again, this is a known book, but just for fun, I'm going to give you the values on it. $40, $115 raw. These are sold. $425 for a 9.8. Interesting. Asking prices right now, $50 to $70, $85 raw. for this One Punch Man, My Hero Academia kind of a two shot. You're getting two in one. But is this really the first appearance? No, not really. I mean, these are creations that came from Japan. They weren't here at first. So if you want to make the argument, well, it's first U.S. comic, fine. That's fine. That's how when you want to spend your money, go ahead, spend your money that way for a free book. You go ahead and spend your $50, $100 for a book that was given away for free. That's a first U.S. appearance when the book has existed for years before that overseas. The product has existed long before that. So 2012, you can see the Jump Comics version is still out there. And in 2015, I believe it was even printed in a manga style reprint here in the US. So it was here even before the Free Comic Book Day version. And this is a manga after all. It's not a comic book. So just buying a free comic book version because it's the first comic book version when it's just reprinting material from a manga, it seems like a silly way to spend your money. That's just my personal opinion. I could be wrong. I know there's a lot of collectors that collect a lot of different things. You spend your money how you wish. I'm just advising you that there are other options for you if you're interested in these properties. Like this oddball little thing I'm going to show you next. In 2013, taking some of the web stories, they were printing them in these magazines over in the Shonen Jump like weekly. I think this is Young Shonen Jump, or I forget what the one title is for this one. And yes, they have the pretty girls on the cover and selling the magazines that way. But there are One Punch Man stories inside here as well, and they're unique to they're like web stories unique to this printing. No copies sold on this one, and unfortunately, no copies available for this particular issue. And I think this was the first one I remember noticing that there were some One Punch Man stories inside of the magazine. In 2013, however, we have this issue of the Weekly Jump. And on the US side, this was a online only, so there's no printed copies of these. So you have to get them from Japan or overseas. I mean, there's some here, but they're Japanese versions of it. So if you want them in print, this is what you're going to be looking for. Again, 2013 for this one. You can see the One Punch Man up there in the top corner. Nothing sold recently on this one either, but available copies 40 60 bucks, 40 to 60 bucks, $66 actually. So this is 2013 issue 51. The way these things go, it's like the year. So this is issue 51 of 2013. So that's like the week it came out. So this is like the end of the year for this one. I think it came out in December or something. But a lot of issues for these. These were weekly magazines that were coming out, and they had all these bunch of little short stories and things tucked away inside of it. Lots going on, but you can see here that is a book that people already know about, and it does sell pretty well. Why am I telling you about this? I don't know. In case you go browsing online, you find yourself in weird corners where you're finding some Japanese magazines, some Shonen Jump magazines. At least maybe you might recognize a couple of these covers so you know what you're looking at, because there are so many of these. There's so many of these out there because these were printed, like I said, every week. These are weekly magazines. You think there's a lot of entertainment weekly magazines out there. These things are out there as well. So somehow, if you find somebody who's got these stacked up at a yard sale, a garage sale, flea market, they got a stack of magazines, just know which ones you're looking at, because not every one of them is worth money, but a couple of them, like this one, could be worth a few bucks if you can find it. Now, another one that does rather well from the overseas market there, and this is another weekly Shonen Jump book, is 2014, because this is the first My Hero Academia in print, I guess. So this thing does all right. $218, $188 sold prices. Yeah, this one is pretty expensive. People are fans of this series. I don't know a lot about this anime manga stuff. I like it when I get to see it, but I just haven't had a lot of exposure to it in recent years. So my callbacks to it, I remember Ghost in the Shell and Ninja Scroll from back in the day. That's the stuff I used to watch. A little bit of Star Blazers and Voltron. But this newer stuff, there are a lot of fans, as you can see, who are willing to spend a lot of money for some of these books. Asking prices 110, 217, $475 raw for this magazine. This Shonen Jump 2014, volume 32. Yeah. So just know the cover. If you somehow find your way in a place that has weird Japanese magazines, maybe you find this. That's why I'm telling you. And outside of these two, which, as I said, were A lot of people shelling out those bucks for that free comic book day first appearance. These are just some other options for you. And outside of that, we have another character that has a lot of fans. This Chainsaw Man. So 2019, this is a relatively newer character in this weekly Shonen Jump. This one is I forget what year this one came. Oh, 2019. This is issue 1. I think this came out to start the year. So this is issue 1 for 2019. $75. This thing has sold for recently. That was June 3rd. So and then you look at asking prices, $75. That seems to be the going rate for this particular magazine. So there are a lot of fans of these characters. It's not something I know a lot about, which is why I'm stumbling, bumbling, mumbling over a lot of this. But I know things that sell when I see them. And if I were to get lucky enough to come across these things, I will be sure to look for these ones personally because I know that they can sell very, very well. So hopefully I'm helping you find them as well. Again, there's chances are slim you're going to run across them out there in the wild, but you never know. So spreading that awareness, maybe you get lucky. Maybe you find these books. Maybe you find that first My Hero Academia and just in a stack somewhere, like I said, at a yard sale, and then you go and buy yourself a $200 book for a quarter or something. I don't know. Stranger things have happened. That said, hopefully you found this stuff interesting, these weird takes of some of these oddities I've thrown in here at the end. I appreciate you all for stopping by and checking this out. I have the next couple of weeks already planned out because I've come across a lot of books that I want to talk about, and half an hour at a time. This used to be a 20-minute show, but now it's stretched itself to almost a half an hour most of the time. So we're going to keep rolling because there's still a lot of stuff that I want to talk about. And there's still a lot of stuff I want to share with you guys. So you have some more stuff that you can keep an eye out for when you're digging. That said, hopefully you're enjoying this. Hopefully you find this helpful. Hopefully you find this interesting. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Make some suggestions of things you might want to see, and I will take it under advisement. Thank you all again for stopping by and checking this out. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And with that, I will see you all tomorrow for Chasing Ghosts and live tax show on Wednesday and Star Wars show live on Sunday. And Dollar Bin in there as well. You know this. You should know the Rennavision lineup by now if you know the channel. And if you don't, subscribe and go check out all the other content because I got a lot of videos these days. And with that, I will see you guys later.